Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. ATP draw preview and predictions for the City Open. The US Open series is here, and I'm really excited for it. I genuinely am. I can't wait. And I know I said a similar thing when Wimbledon came around, and I was like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm genuinely so excited for this as well. I do feel like when there's like this short kind of gap in between Grand Slams or swings anyway, that I feel, oh, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I'm watching some of the tennis, and it just doesn't feel the same. Like we've gone back onto the clay and in some tournaments, and I'm just thinking, yeah, I mean, I love the clay. Maybe my favorite swing, that Roland Garros swing, the tournaments beforehand. But I don't know. I now want to get onto the US Open hard courts and the US hard courts and the North American hard courts. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. Let's get into it. Before we do, remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you to everyone that is still liking the videos. It really does help. And do subscribe if you're new. It really does help us out a great deal. Of course, leave a rating or review if you're a podcast listener or watcher. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into it. Andrey Rublev tops the seedings here at the City Open in Washington, because I'm reporting live from Washington, of course. He's got a bye in the first round, so good news for him. Jack Draper plays Kozlov, a wild card from America, so playing at home. I'm going to go with Draper to come through, but I was actually talking to someone in the comment section of the WTA video just now, Greg. Shout out, Greg. And I said I'd mention Draper, and the reason why is because I'm not quite sure how his game is going to translate onto this surface, especially going into the US Open, where it's a slower hard court. It almost plays like a clay court in terms of the speed at times. You might say it might be an exaggeration, but it's not too far off in terms of the speed of the court. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of the US Open Series courts are going to play the same. All the tournaments are going to play the same. Of course not. Some of the hard courts will no doubt be quicker. But I am interested to know how his game translates. Of course, he does seem pretty comfortable on the grass, and he had some good results at Wimbledon. But with his big serve and forehand, but still relatively limited game, you'd say, at quite a young age still. It'll be interesting to see how he can push on and whether he can push on. But I've got him winning the first round anyway. David Goffin versus Jack Sock. Jack Sock being in some good form as well. Goffin as well, though, has been in great form. It's on a hard court. It's a tough one, because if it was on grass or clay, I'm probably picking David Goffin, but on a hard court, it is a different story. It's a 50-50. It's a great first round. Might even be the pick of the first rounds. I'm going to go Jack Sock to win as the home favorite. Maxime Cressy has a bye, as says Holger Rune. Gochwijk versus Benoit Paire. I'm going to go... I was about to say Benoit Paire. Really, am I? Yeah, I am. JJ Wolf has got a qualifier. I'm going to go with JJ Wolf. I think it depends really who the qualifier is, to be honest with you. Denis Shapovalov has got a bye, as does Taylor Fritz. Poprin's got a qualifier, so I'm going to go Poprin. And Carl Edmund, he makes his return, the Brit, and I have very, very small expectations for him because he's had a long layoff. He's been unfortunate as well with his injuries. I know, if I'm not mistaken, he made a quarterfinal of a slam before his injury. Just thinking, he was making big strides, and he was. You felt he was. I'm going to go with him to be the qualifier, whoever it is, but it'll be interesting to see how he does get on in this tournament. I hope he at least gets a couple of games under his belt to help his road to full recovery, I guess. Dan Evans has got a bye, so does Alex de Minaur. Nishioka Brooksby, good one. I'm going to go Brooksby. I think Brooksby on the US Open, on the US hardcourt, even in the US Open series, is a real danger. He really is. And I think he's very much at home on the hard courts. He'll be happy to get the clay court swing and the grass court swing done and get back onto the hard courts where he feels very comfortable. Qualifier versus Soon Kwon, going to go Kwon then. And of course, Kwon took a set of Djokovic in the first round of Wimbledon. So, look, he's a good young player. We'll see what he can do. Hachinov has a bye, as does Van der Zandt Schulp. James Duckworth has a qualifier, but I'll go Duckworth. Bonzi versus Chris Eubanks, wild card. Oh, I'm going to go Bonzi, Just, and it's difficult, though. Because Chris Eubanks is pretty good on the hard courts. I've seen him last year in these events, and he's quite dangerous. But Benjamin Bonzi's been in good form, but does that translate onto the hard courts? I'm going to say yes. TFO has a bye, as does Tommy Paul. Kyrgios Giron, wow. So, Kyrgios is back, baby. Is he? Didn't he pull out? Didn't he pull out of Washington? Is this an up-to-date draw? Is this? Let's have a quick look. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure he's pulled out of the singles and he's only playing doubles. Well, he may be playing doubles, I think, is what I heard. But it's not. It's not like confirmed anyway. No, he's in the draw. Okay. Interesting. I'll go Kyrgios then to beat Giron, obviously. I mean, may the final of Wimbledon. Maybe it was a previous tournament that he wasn't able to play in. Atlanta. That was it. He's not able to play in Atlanta, so he has an injury. So hopefully he recovers or he's able to play the singles at Washington. Sorry, got my US tournaments mixed up. Kudla has a qualifier. I'm going to go Kudla. Opelka's got a bye, and Dimitrov has a bye too. Manarina Clan. I'm going to go Manarina. Korda, Ivashka. That's not a very good. That's a horrible first round for Korda. I'm going to go Korda, but Ivashka has the ability to cause the upset. I'll tell you that now. Sebastian Baez has got a bye. Interesting to see how he can do on this surface. I'm interested to see after a strong clay court swing. Karatse's got a bye. He'll be happy to be back on the hard courts. And Andy Murray has Mikel Ima in the first one. Not an easy first round, but should be able to navigate his way through that. McDonald Rusevori. That's a tough first round to call. It really is. Going to go Rusevori, but not much confidence. And Hurkacz has a bye. So a lot of buys for a lot of the seeds. And here we go. Now it gets tasty. Rublev Draper. Going to go Rublev. I think he's going to have too much power from the back of the court. Draper serves really, really well. He gives himself a chance, but I would imagine Rublev's going to just have too much in the end. Jack Sock, Maxime Cressy. Of course, we had the same match at Wimbledon. I think Cressy was pretty worn out from his match before, though. He lost in 5 sets to Jack Sock. I think Cressy is going to get revenge over Sock in this tournament. Holger Rune versus Benoit Paire. I'm going to go Rune, although I'm not completely sold on him on any surface that isn't clay yet. So interesting to see how he does play on the hard courts, but should have a little bit too much. Shapovalov to beat JJ Wolf should do, but we'll see. Shapo's had a very torrid year so far. Apart from that quarterfinals at the Australian Open, after that, it's been pretty much all downhill. Taylor Fritz versus Popring. Going to go Fritz. Loves the hard courts, of course, winning Indian Wells earlier this year, and has just had overall a very good year, a breakthrough year, you could say. Carl Edmund versus Dan Evans in an all-British affair. I'm going to go Dan Evans. I think he's going to be fresher than Carl Edmund, who's still coming back from injury. Alex de Minaur, Jensen Brooksby. That is going to be the battle of the grinders. From the back of the court, there's going to be some really long rallies. It's going to be a pleasure to watch, I'm sure, at times. It's a really tough one to call. It really is. I'm going to go Brooksby to cause the perceived upset and beat the 11th seed, but I just have a feeling we might see his best now we're back on the hard courts. Kwon versus Khachanov. I'm going to go Khachanov. Don't sleep on Khachanov on a hard court. Of course, made the final of the Olympics, losing to Alexander Zverev in the final. And playing some good tennis, Khachanov. I think generally, and he's a solid player. I don't think that would be a Grand Slam winner, but he's someone who may make a quarter, may even make a semi at times, if he's playing some really good tennis. Van der Zandschulp versus Duckworth, going to go with Van der Zandschulp. Watched him live at Queen's, and he's very solid, I think, for the most part, and seems to have a little of everything. So that's great to see. Of course, made, if I'm not mistaken, the quarterfinals of the US Open last year. Was it last year at the US Open? So yeah, he'll be happy to be back on the hard court. So he's got a bit of an all-round game, I have to say. The big Dutch player. Bonzi versus TFO. TFO, I think it's going to be too strong in this. Kyrgios Tommy Paul's a great match. It's a really entertaining one. I'm going to go Kyrgios there. If Kyrgios is playing anywhere near the level that we saw at Wimbledon, he should go very deep in this tournament. So I have him beating Tommy Paul. But Tommy Paul is a very dangerous customer. Kudla, Opelka. I think Opelka is going to just have too much in terms of serving prowess against Kudla. I think he gets through pretty comfortably. Dimitrov against Manarino. I think Dimitrov should have too much, but needs to be patient because Manarino will make him play a lot of balls. Korda, Sebastian Baez. I'm going to go Korda. I think he's more accomplished on the hard courts. And I don't know, Baez, again, I'm not quite sure. It's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to see how his game translates as well onto hard courts as it does on clay. And when I say it's hard to see, it's just because I've never seen it before. Genuinely, that's the only reason. So we'll see how he gets on, and I'm very intrigued. And I will watch with bated breath. Karatsev versus Murray. That's a really tough. I mean, Murray has a terrible couple of rounds. I have to say. I mean, it's not easy at all. If Karatsev plays like he did when he made the semi-finals of the Australian Open last year, then it's going to be a very, very tough ask for Andy Murray. But considering that we haven't seen that Karatsev for a long time, probably just over a year, we haven't seen it I don't think we've seen it this year so far anyway, that's for sure. I would say that Murray will beat Karatsev, and Hurkacz to beat Rusevori. I think Hurkacz in these tournaments, 500s, 1000s, 250s, he just eats it all up. When he gets to the Grand Slam, then it's a bit of a different story, and he can be upset, and you feel like his level isn't quite as high as it is in some of the other tournaments, or maybe the pressure gets to him. But I think, yeah, he'll have too much for Rusevori. Rublev Cressy. I'm going to go Cressy to cause the upset. I just think it's going to frustrate Rublev so much. Genuinely, I think it's going to be a nightmare for Cressy. Sorry, for Rublev. I don't think he's going to enjoy it at all. I think he's going to make him really uncomfortable. But let's see. I mean, I'm going for a big prediction here. I have no idea if it's going to come off. Shapovalov should beat Rune. But then Rune did beat Shapo at Wimbledon, and I did predict it as well. Was it Wimbledon? Sorry, it was at Roland Garros in the first round as well. I'm going to go Rune, actually. I think he probably has a mental edge now against Shapo. And up Shapo, as I said, is not playing great, so I feel like he might miss a lot. We'll see. Taylor Fritz, Dan Evans, Fritz for me, too solid, just too big in all areas. I think he will be too good for Dan Evans on the day. Brooksby, Khachanov, great matchup. I'm going to go Brooksby to beat Khachanov. It'll be a very good win, but I have a bit of faith in the American on the hard courts. I think he's a very different player on the hard courts. He just seems to have a lot more confidence in moving on the surface and playing on the surface generally. Van der Zandschulp versus Francis Tiafoe. I'm going to go with the American Tiafoe to beat Van der Zandschulp. That's a tough match for Tiafoe and a fantastic one at that. Kyrgios Opelka. Wow. So Kyrgios obviously lost to Opelka in a clay court tournament a couple of months ago. Now, this is a much quicker surface in comparison. I would say this is going to be a tough one for Kyrgios because his forehand return, especially, and just his return in general, I think is an area that needs to be improved if he does, for example, want to try and win a Grand Slam. I would say Opelka is the favorite going into this, but I'm going to go with Kyrgios. Again, this is mainly based on his form as of late, and I'm placing a lot of importance on that. Dimitrov, Korda. I'm going to go Dimitrov to just have too much experience for Korda, but very, very tough match to call. Korda on his day when he's playing his best tennis is so dangerous for anyone. We've seen that this year. Andy Murray versus Hurkacz. Oh, I don't think this is a good matchup for Murray. I just think Hurkacz, as I said, is pretty frustrating to play against. And big server Hurkacz, pretty good returner. Knows when it comes to the net. Murray's one of the best passers in the game, but I'm going to have to go with Hurkacz. And then I've got Rune, Cressy. Then I go Maxim Cressy. Fritz, Brooksby, Fritz. TFO, Kyrgios. Going to go Kyrgios. If he makes it this far, Kyrgios, I think he beats TFO. And Hurkacz to beat Dimitrov. Maxim, Cressy, Taylor, Fritz. Going to go Fritz. I think Fritz would have seen Cressy's style a lot. And I think also just the fact that he's going to serve just as big as Cressy, if not bigger at times. His return's very, very good, Fritz, for the most part. Yeah, too much for me. Then Kyrgios Hurkacz, I think that's where Kyrgios probably bows out against Hurkacz. I think he'll probably frustrate him a little bit. Hurkacz will. I don't necessarily think the styles are... I don't necessarily think that style is particularly good news for Kyrgios. Fritz Hurkacz in the final of the Citi Open. I'm going to go with Taylor Fritz, the home favourite, to beat Hurkacz to raise the trophy and add to his Indian Wells title this year. That's my prediction, Taylor Fritz to win it all. Let me know, do you think, actually, no, what are you talking about, Fazan? It's going to be Rublev, or it's going to be Andy Murray. It's going to be Kyrgios. It's going to be Hurkacz. Let me know what your predictions are. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.